Here is a little list of the things that flat earthers don't understand. There we go. And if you're still here, Level Earth Observer, he's got these three fundamentals. I touched on them last time, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. Remember, every time that you say that you have proven that the Earth is scientifically impossible,
so this just doesn't work, and is another obvious problem with the globe, which, as I've stated and proven many times on this channel, is scientifically impossible.
You have to provide the evidence to back up that claim. The burden of proof is on you. You say something or claim something, you have to provide the evidence that backs it up. Remember, Trump still reckons he won the election. Same deal. That which is claimed without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. The only thing you provided are arguments from ignorance and arguments from incredulity. That's not the same as proof. So your fundamentals. First one, you say that water can't exhibit curves over large areas. It's just completely nonsensical and doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Even the simplest of demonstrations, like the English Channel experiment I mentioned earlier, you can come down to Dover and see it for yourself. You won't though, because you don't want to be proven wrong. So come down to Dover, bring yourself a set of really strong binoculars and a powerful camera, and see if you can get those ferries back over the horizon. Not going to happen. You say you can't have two pressure systems without a physical barrier. Probably true, but remember, there's no pressure in space. It is a vacuum. There is nothing there. There is no force. Space doesn't suck. Actually, it's pretty groovy. But traces of our atmosphere have been found 10,000 kilometres off the surface, where the gravitational pull is still acting on it, but it's so weak, some of it actually escapes into space. But there's enough of it to go around. But the point I want to concentrate on is your lack of understanding of what a pendulum is. Now, a pendulum is any form of apparatus, not necessarily just a ball and chain or anything like that. It's anything where there's a deliberate weight or bob at the end of a chain or wire or whatever you want to do. In the case for a grandfather clock, a solid piece of brass. But the weight at the end has to be exponentially heavier than the cable that's supporting it. This doesn't follow with your crane. Now, we're both in the construction industry, so I know that you rock around cranes and what have you, which is probably where this mindset's come from. But your claim is that cranes at rest should stop wobbling because of the rotation of the Earth, as in a forecourt pendulum. For those that don't know, a forecourt pendulum was something that was exhibited by Léon Fourcourt in Paris, I think in 1851. The way it worked is that a weight, about a bag of cement, 28 kilos, was suspended from a wire 220 feet long, and when gently set in motion, depicts the rotation of the Earth, depending on how close to the equator it is. If it was on the equator, it would take exactly 24 hours. Because we're a little bit further north, it's not quite that much. I think it's about 31. And if it was one that was set up at the North Pole, it would only work in a straight line. The disparity there is your crane, the ones you're so fixated on, the weight at the end of your cables, wires, chains, whatever, isn't heavy enough to display the same properties as a forecourt pendulum. It just isn't. It's a completely inaccurate comparison, and you've been corrected several times on it. Again, it's conservation of momentum. If that forecourt pendulum wasn't set in motion, it would stay in one position forever until somebody did. It might display a little bit of movement after a while, but not as much as when it's actually working properly. So that's one of your fundamentals you don't have to worry about anymore. But you don't have to worry about any of them, because they're all rubbish. And as for the Earth spinning and wobbling, again, it's all in the wording, isn't it? The wobbling you talk about, we wobble once every 24,000 years. That's not wobbling. And we're not really spinning either. We're rotating, and there is a marked difference. Now, if you want to know how fast the Earth is rotating, you just have to ask Bob.
When we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Any point on the surface of the Earth, more or less near the equator, is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. But that's in relative to the size of the planet, which you still don't understand. If you want an actual physical, visual representation of how fast the Earth is rotating, have you got a watch? So this is a watch. This one isn't actually working, so it's not a fantastic demonstration because we're all digital around here. But if you do have a watch that's working, the hour hand on a watch goes around twice every 24 hours. The Earth rotates once every 24 hours. That's half as slow. So if you want a visual representation of how fast we are rotating or not, take 10 minutes, bit boring, take 10 minutes and stare at the hour hand on a watch or on a clock and see if you can see it move. Okay, remember that's 30 degrees an hour that's moving at. Spend 10 minutes. If you've got nothing better to do, you probably don't apart from editing videos on your phone. Stare at the hour hand on a watch for 10 minutes. See if you can see it moving, and then try to conceptualize that the Earth is rotating at half that speed. That's why you can't feel the Earth moving, and that's why your cranes aren't wobbling. I could go on, but I think that'll do for now. I hope you like the new lighting. A little bit technical. I've got 2 halo lights. Perils of having glasses and halo lights. If you have one right behind the camera, or you can see big circles in my eyes. So I've got 2. Hopefully it works. And I'm not on an ironing board today, so that's all I'm going to do for Level Earth Observer. If you are feeling really bad about yourself and feeling a bit silly about something you've done at work or something like that, you're feeling embarrassed about yourself, check out his channel. You'll be pissing yourself laughing in 5 minutes. Honestly, he's hilarious. As I said, thermal blankets are my last shields. It's really, really funny. But I'm going to finish up. I said in the last video that flat eartherism isn't a harmless conspiracy theory. It's a gateway conspiracy theory. It always tends to lead on to other things, and there is a correlation between. I know last time I said about the January 6th riots. There are numbers to support the fact that a lot of flat earthers are right-wing nut jobs, conspiracy theorists, hate the government, anti-vaxxers, any conspiracy, you know, everybody's trying to kill you, that kind of thing. Whether or not that's actually true for all of them, I don't know. I mean, looking at Elio's channel, he does touch on anti-vaxxing in this sense. So it's that inherent distrust in the government which can lead to more dangerous things. So I'm going to finish up now with a little story, and this is a true story. A few years ago, I had a chance to speak to somebody online. This guy was quite well known in flat earth circles. I didn't have a conversation with him, but I did speak to him virtually. He was going to be conducting an experiment, and the experiment was, in a word, nonsensical. It didn't make any sense. Anybody with a lick of sense could see that it was dangerous. He wasn't going to get the results he was after, and it would be a complete waste of time and money. Now, I wasn't the only one with this mindset, and when I spoke to him, or when I contacted him, I think it was through his YouTube channel, I said to him, this is dangerous, it's not going to work, you're not going to get the results you're after, and you're going to put your life in peril, and you're going to risk the lives of everybody around you. And his response to me, probably not verbatim, his response to me was, you don't have to worry about me, I know what I'm doing, I'm probably one of the smartest men on the planet. I swear that is what he said to me. So, despite hundreds of people trying to convince him not to do it, he did the experiment anyway. And this is what happened. Yeah, the person I spoke to was Mad Mike Hughes, who never said that he was a flat earther, but he said he was open to the idea. If you're open to the idea of a flat earth, you're a flat earther. Okay, there's no two ways about it. You either are or you aren't. He built himself a steam-powered rocket that was only going to get to something like 15,000 feet. You have to get ridiculously higher than that if you want to see the curvature of the Earth. And as soon as it launched, he ripped the safety parachute off, and there was no coming back from that. So for lack of a better expression, we were right, he was wrong, and his hubris saw him, ended up as a smear on the desert floor. This is what I mean when I say flat eartherism isn't harmless. And I don't mean any real malice when I make these videos. I just don't like seeing people humiliate themselves on a daily basis when it's so easily avoidable. Verifiable science predates NASA by millennia. There was no agenda when we found out the Earth was round. There was no agenda when we found the South Pole or the North Pole. There was no agenda when we found the other planets in the universe. We started to see how far out we could see. Coming into the debate with nonsensical theories this late in the day does mean the burden of proof is on you. And when you can't provide any proof whatsoever, your word just isn't good enough. And you're going to end up in a pool of your own hubris. Don't be like Mike.